Hello and welcome, as it is the 17th day of January 2018, or more importantly, it is the middle of January of this year. We're looking at the daily chart for Bitcoin. But what I want to do in this particular video is go over the first or the start of every year from the infancy stages, Mt. Gox. And without further ado, let's get started. But every single one of these charts, the PNG file, is available in the more information box. So then, let's get started. And this is 2010 into 2011. So when Bitcoin originally at this time was a couple dozen pennies, had a nice liftoff at the start of the year, up to about almost 75 cents. And then a nice rally as the year went further, moving on to 2012. The year started off phenomenally. Well, it ended 2011 phenomenally. And it had a sell-off at the start of the year. But of note, there's been a common trend, as we're going to see. Decent sized sell-offs in the middle part of January. But not in the year 2013, not the case. Wow, what a rally, going from about 10 bucks up to a couple hundred and change. How do you do? The big sell-off, of course, occurred after the rally, but that's just normal market movements making a higher low from the previous one. So you go from like $12 to $250 or standard market stuff. You pull back to about 70. How do you do? Let's move on to 2014. And the big selling started before the end of the year. That was within the Mt. Gox situation. So this will be now, of course, Bitstamp charts the rest of the way. The year started off with not really the big decline in the second week, but of course it started the bear market that would move on until the next year, which is 2015 after this. And in the second week of January is when Bitcoin bottomed. It went below $200, so the final wave lower occurred in the second week of January, and the bear market started in 2014 on the second or the middle of January, moving on to 2016. As we look at the second or the middle of January again, pretty large one-day sell-off, and that was it. They had a small, nice little correction in here, and then these little moves in here. I'm guessing it's either invalid stuff or that's just lucky buy orders that came in with what was a low market like just not as much participation as there is today. 2017 started, there was a lot more participation, and the price just it flew this year. In fact, we're only looking at the first half of the year, which only went up to like 1900, and well, we know it's much higher than that now. But in the middle of January, we had this little sell-off to start that year. So now we move back to where we stand today. I do think it seems probable that this selling has at least a little bit more to go. Maybe down towards 7,500 to 8,000. But I wouldn't be betting on the price doing such. It's not worth the risk for me to do so. It's already had decent size red candles down, 2 of them, breaking down below support. And I do feel that all sell-offs are guilty until proven innocent. And when I say that, that means the likelihood of the market to regain itself, come back to previous levels, and later break the high is very interesting. Now, when I read the Webbot report, the last one, I got to read the rest of it today. Well, not the rest of it, a second time. I read it when it comes out and then a couple other times. I make some notes, but in this case here, I don't have anything until really into February of too much significant note. The thing that I found was interesting, when the market breaks 20,000, what was basically stated is it will not go back. And if it does, we're talking about maybe very short-term support. Like on one day it breaks 20 to 21.9. 4 hours later it goes back to 20, and that's the last time it sees it. Well, for a while. Because within it, it stated that it's not going to go back to it for years. Okay, let's think about this for a second. And for this example, I'm going to use a 10-day time frame and just have some drying area in for what I'm looking to use as the example. So we most likely will be looking to reach a bottom, I think, relatively soon. Now, how far deep this goes on a short-term level, well, that's going to be difficult to explain, but I know it's hard for me to figure out where the mouse pointer is. But okay, so maybe it goes down a little bit, do some settling, and then as it breaks this, it wouldn't surprise me if this thing just lifts off, something like this. But as stated in the report, it wouldn't go back to 20,000 for years. So what is this to tell me in the future? That something of maybe this magnitude might come into play, and maybe this magnitude might happen over here instead, and maybe instead of it going up here, it goes several legs higher. And then maybe John McAfee's number of 6 figures between $250 million will come into play. And would it be possible to see it go from, say, 225,000 back down to 20,000? And maybe and possibly, which is why every single time cryptos rise, I'm going to be looking to profit take every little bits that I can. And when it goes up high and often, I get a lot of little bits that I can profit take. And I'm going to finish this off with the weekly chart. And I don't know what the deep future is going to hold for the cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, with other cryptocurrencies, I think, much more superior in how the usage of them work. But even as we move into the 20s, how the cryptocurrencies are going to actually, if they're going to even survive, that I don't even know. Because a lot of people talk about this, it's a Ponzi, or it's going to be a bubble, which is the key word. But when they say it's going to be a bubble, it's like it's got to be now. Just like it had to have been a bubble a little bit here, it was a bubble here, it was a bubble here, it was a bubble here. Yeah, it's always a bubble. And I think at some point later on it might be. But I'm always going to want to have them just in case. It's just if you hold X amount of units at Y value, so one at, say, value of 2, and then the value goes up to, say, 50, now you can hold 0.7. And the whole point is you will always have something of your cryptos worth value by profit taking. But if something of bad mechanisms ends up coming in, I'm going to be grateful I've got as many ounces of silver as I have and all the other things I've used within cryptocurrencies. I don't think it's a bottom, but I think that's worth noting is that the price action on the 18 average has done what I've talked about so many times, and it has made a move to this 18 average of lows, which has tremendous track record of having support throughout the year of 2017. We'll see in 2018 with its first test, which is right now, how this level handles such an incident. And I'd like to thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.